Hello and welcome back to the channel. So in the previous video we looked at how to build this home screen for the quiz app, and in today's video we'll be looking at how to build the questions page. So let's quickly look at what we are going to work on. So in the app bar we are having our title in the center, and then we are having our automatic leading icon, which is the back button here, and we also have something in our actions that's for asking for help, and all this will be in our app bar. And in the body we are going to have a column, and that column will consist of first the current question, and then the total question. So that is going to be the question we are currently on slash the total number of questions for this particular topic. And next we are going to have the question itself, which is this, and then we are going to also have a list of options that will be in a radio list style, right, so that the user can select. And then at the bottom we have our button. This is our huge button, so elevated button, and that's all for this question screen. It's a simple screen, and let's look at how we will build that in code, right? So let's get right into the video. Before we get into the video, if you didn't watch the last one, I recommend you watch it. There is a link in the description to the last video, and this is what we built the last time, right? So just a simple home page, and in this video I want to showcase what to be building right now. So when I tap on any of these quiz, it takes me to a page where I have the question number, that's questions, the current question over the total number of questions. So I have 10 questions now, the actual question, and then we have some radio list styles, that's for the option that we can select. So when I tap on any of this, you realize it cycles between them, right? And then it changes the actively selected option, and I can swipe left like this to move to the next question, and you can see the question, the active question changes, which is the active question number. And I can also select, or I can use the next button to move to the next question, right? And I can keep on selecting, and if I get to the last question, the next button changes to submit. And in this case you can do whatever you want to do with the question, whether you want to move the person to a completed screen or show the total number of correct and wrong answers. It depends on you, but with this example we'll just be looking at how to implement the UI with the selection as well, right? So let's continue with where we left the last time and then build the question page. Okay, so in the previous video we built this screen, and now when we tap on any of the quizzes, we want to navigate to the questions page. So let's first create the questions page, and I'm going to my lib folder under the pages directory. I'm going to create a new page called question page, and this question page will be a stateful widget. So stateful widget, and the name is going to be question page, and let's import material app, right? And within the scaffold of this question page we are going to have an app bar, and then just the app bar widget, and also we have to move the cons from here. So our title will be a text. For now we are going to have a dummy title that says general knowledge, and we also have to remove the elevation and set the background color to transparent, and also the foreground color to a black color, so colors that's black, right? And now let's navigate to this page and see what we have. So in the recent quiz we have a list style, and then in the on top of any of these list styles we want to navigate to the question page. So in the on top I'm going to use navigator dot push, and the page is going to be a material page route. So when we tap on any of these recent quizzes, it should take us to the question page. So when we tap on it, here we are at the question page, right? And we can pass this title, that's the name of the quiz we are tapping on, to the question page, so that we display that in the app bar. So within the question page we can require the title, and now when we are navigating we'd have to pass in the title, which is going to be our recent quiz model.name, right? And now within the question page we can use this title. So instead of it being general knowledge always, we can change it to widget.title, right? And we are doing widget.title because this is state for widgets. So when we tap on the sports, we get a sports here. When we tap on science, we get a science here, right? And we want to have our little help icon also here. So within the app bar we can use the actions and then use an icon button, and then the icon is going to be ionicons.help outline, right? And we have our help icon there. We can also reduce the splash radius to something like 24. So when I say we have a smaller splash. Now in the body of our quiz, so outside the app bar within the scaffold, within the body we are going to have a column, right? And the column will have some children. The first child of this column will be the total number of questions and then the current question we are on, right? So that is going to be a text, and then we will have the question, so something like question 1 out of 15, right? And we immediately realize we need some padding in our body, so I'm going to wrap the column in the padding widget and give it a padding all around of 14. Now let's style our text. So I'm going to use style text style and then give it a font size of 18 and also a font weight of bold. Okay, so we have this, and we can optionally change the color or just leave it like this. Now we need some space, so after the text we want to have some space, so a size box of height 15, that will just give us some space. And I want to have a page view that we can swipe, so the page view will contain both the question and then the options, right? So we're going to have a page view builder, and then the item builder is what will return the widgets we want. So within the item builder we are going to return a list view, and you understand why we are returning a list view very soon. So if I remove the cons from here, and also wrap this in an expanded widget because we are in a column, and if you don't do that, we are going to get vertical viewport has been given an unbounded height. So let's wrap it with a widget, and that's going to be an expanded widget. And when we save, we are not seeing anything because there's nothing in our list view. So let's first give an item count to this page view builder. I'm going to give it an item count of 10 for now, and also we need to change some few things. So I'm going to change the physics so that we have a bouncing scroll physics. That's when we over scroll the list view. So within our list view, right, within our list view we are going to have children, and then within the children we have the actual question, right? So the first one will be a text, and that is going to be the question itself. So something like motor racing is the dash sport in the world. So this will be our question, and let's also style our question a bit. So I'm going to the style property and then give it a headline 6 style. So I'm accessing my theme, and then the headline 6, and also I'd have to move the cons from here, right? So this is what we have, and we can now swipe. So because of the page view we can swipe, but we are still having the same question, and we have 10 pages. Oh yeah, so we have 10, and then the next thing is going to be a gap for the option. So we must have some sizer box here, and then give it a height of somewhere 25 will do. And now we are going to have our list of options, right? And since our options is going to be a list, we want to loop through each of them and then return a radio list style. And I'm going to do this with the list.generate, and then I'll spread the widget out. So this is how I'm going to do it. There are so many ways you can do this, but I'm going to use list.generate and then pass in 4 for now, and then the generator is going to be the function that returns the widget. So I'm going to return a radio list style, and then for now I can just set the value to be false, the group value also to be false, then the unchanged to be a function that has the value, right? And now we get an error that the element type list radio list style can't be assigned to the list type, blah blah blah. So we just have to spread this out like this, and that is going to fix it. So realize that we now have our options there, and let's style our options a bit. So the first thing is we want to have some spacing between the options. So I'm going to wrap it in a padding widget, and then a padding of only bottom of 20. So I'm going to have a padding bottom of 20. That will give some spacing between our options. Also I want to change the shape a bit. So within the radio list style, you can use the shape property and then give it a rounded rectangle border shape, and then change the border radius. So for the border radius, I'm going to have border radius dot circular, and then passing the radius of just 4, right? And also let's add some title so that we will know what is going on. So the title will be a text widget that will say something like random option, right? So we have a random option here, and we want to have padding within this option. We want to make the option a little bit huge. So within the radio list style, after the shape, we can use the content padding property and give it a padding of all around of 8. So doing that to make sure our list, that's our radio list style, is huge, right? Now I want to change the color, so we can use that with a tile color. That's the color of this style, and then it's going to be, I'm going to select the background color for my theme. So that's going to be theme dot of context dot color scheme dot background. And when I save, our tile is a little different from the scaffold, but not very visible. But you can see that there is difference between the scaffold and then our tile. Now also we want to change some values when it is selected, right? But we will do that when we bring in our question model, right? So for now, let's just leave it this way, and now come outside the expanded widget. So outside the expanded widget, we're going to have our button. That's our huge next button, but before that, some sizer box for spacing. So a sizer box of height 20, and then we have our button, so our elevated button, and then the child is going to be a text that says next for now. And we have our button. We want our button to take the full width and also a little bit long, right, and also a little bit tall, right? So we want to wrap our button in a sizer box and then give it a width of double dot infinity, and also give it a height of 55. So that will make sure that we have a huge button that we can press. Now this is the basic design for our question page. Also we want to align this to the left. So within the column, we can set the cross-axis alignment to cross-axis alignment dot start, and that will move this guy to the left. So that's what it takes for the question page design. And let's create a question model for this. So within my models directory, I'm going to create a new file called question model.dat, and this is how we describe how each question is going to be. So we're going to have a class called question model, and then the first thing is going to be the actual question, right, which is going to be the text of the question. Now we're also going to have the answer of that question. We are going to have a list of options which are going to be string, right. We're also going to have a string that is going to be the user answer, right? So that's the answer the user has chosen, which will be any of the options, right? So let's just require this quickly in our constructor. So I'm going to generate this constructor, and I'm not going to require this user answer immediately. I'm going to set this user answer to be an empty string, right? So when we are creating a question, we don't necessarily have to provide the answer, right? So we are going to have a list of question model, right? So I'm going to create a list of question model and then call it sample questions. So these are just sample questions for our UI, and now each of them is going to be a question model. And we have the question like motor racing is the dash 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 sport in the world, and then we'll have an answer like fastest, and then we have an option which is a list of strings. So the option must contain the answer. So fastest is the first one, fast, faster, and then fasten, right? So this is how our list of question model will look like. So there is our sample question, and now I'm going to copy the rest in, so they are all just going to look like that. Right, so I have a list of sample questions, and now we can use these sample questions in our question page. So the first thing is we want to have the total number of questions, right, which is going to be our sample questions dot length, right? So we can set the length, and also we have to know the currently active question. So we are going to create a variable that is going to be our active page, and that active page will determine our currently active question. So under our state, let's create a variable called so an integer, right? Not fine now, int current question, and then set it to 0, right? And now our question is going to be our current question plus 1. So we have question 1 out of the total number of questions, and the reason why we are starting from 0 is because arrays, or let's start from 0, and we'll be using that with our page view as well as moving to the next page, right? Now the next thing is, when we change this page, when we swipe, we want to be able to update the current question, right? So in our page view builder, we have the on page change that we can use, and that is going to bring us a value which is the current active page index, and then we can set state and pass that value to our current question. So our current question is going to be that value, right? So when we start, we are on page 0. Now whenever our page changes, this index which is the value, is going to return as the active page index. So currently we are on page 0. When we swipe, so I would have to change the length, the item count, to be sample question dot length, right? And also I think I'd have to go back and come again. So now it's working, yeah. So now it's working. So when we swipe, right, that's on page change, we get the current index we are on, which is the current page starting from 0. So right now our index is 1, and then we are passing that value, which is the new index, to our current question, and in the UI we are adding 1 to it because we started from 0. So when we get to the last question, which is question 10, we can't swipe again, and that's the last question. Now we want to be able to use this next button to also update the page index as well as change the question number. And in order to do that, we have to have a page controller. That's something we can use to control this page outside the page view. So under the state, I'm coming to create a page view controller, right? So final page controller, and then I'll set it to a page controller, right? And maybe you can dispose this, so you call page controller dot dispose. So that's if you exit from this page, you don't want to still keep this page controller running, right? So now we can pass this page controller to the page view builder. So the controller is going to be our page controller, and now when we tap on this elevated button, we want to animate. So we want to go to the next page, and we want to only go to the next page if we are not on the last question, right? Otherwise we are going to get an error. It's because the page we want to go to doesn't exist. So let's first make a simple check. When we tap on this button, if our current question is less than our sample questions dot length minus 1. So this will check if we are not on the last page, rather, right? So if we are not on the last page, that's if the current question is less than the total number of questions we have minus 1, right? Because we are starting from 0, so we have to subtract 1 from it. Then we want to move to the next page. So we want to first set state, and then we want to increase the current question. So current question plus plus, so this will increase the current question by 1, right? So let's just test this, and if I tap on the next button, so if I tap on the next button, realize we are changing the current question, but we are not changing the page. So in order to change the page, we can go to the next page using the page controller you created. So page controller dot next page, right? We have to pass in the duration. So I'm going to use a duration of 300 milliseconds, and then also a curve of ease in, right? So if I change this to curves dot ease in, so now when we tap on the next page, when we tap on the next button, it should take us to the next page, right? So let me go back and then tap on it again. So tapping on next should take me to the next page as well as swipe the page, right? So now it is working. And if we are on the last question, right, we don't want to show next, we want to show submit, right? So if it is the last question, we want to show the submit button, and in order to do that, instead of showing the next, we can check if the current question is less than sample questions that's length minus 1, which is what we basically did for checking if we are not the last question. So if we are not on the last question, we want to show next, else we want to show submit, right? So if I swipe to the last question, the button should now change from next to submit, right? and if we change it to submit, when you tap on it, we are no longer moving to the next page because this statement is now false, right? Now let's work on our radio list style. So the first thing is we want to pass in the value of this radio list style. So in the item builder, the list view, we can expand, and then within the radio list style, our value should be our question, the option index, right? So the particular option we are on. So within our list view, we can extract the question from here. Let's create a variable called question, and that is going to be our sample questions index. So this will return as the particular question we are on. And let's also rename this index to something like option index, so it is different from this index. And now we can access our option, right? So final option equal to our question option index, right? So question dot options, and then our option index. So this will give us a single option, which is a string, right? And now we can put that option here. So we now have a single, we are accessing a single option for using the option index, right, from a single question. Hope it makes sense. And now the value of this this radio list style is going to be the particular option, right? So that's the value. Now the group value is going to be the person's answer, right? So our question dot user answered. So this is supposed to be user answer instead of user answered, so I'm going to rename it to user answer. And we would have to hot restart the app because of the rename. Right now when we tap on this, it's going to perform some selection, but for now nothing is happening because on the unchanged we are not doing anything, right? So when we tap on this, we want to set the user answer to be whatever the person tapped on, right? So we want to set state, and then that particular question dot user answer is equal to our value. And we have a one user answer can be used as a setter because it's final. So that would mean we'd have to go to our sample question and remove the final from this user answer. And then also we have to use the now assertion operator that this value is going to be available. So now when we tap on it, we are able to select our option because we are checking if this option, the group value, that's what the user has selected, matches up to this value, right? Which means it is selected, and that does not mean what the user has selected is correct. That's only a way of changing what the user has selected, right? So whenever what the user answer is the same as that particular option, then we are just selecting it, right? So later on you can use the answer for that particular question to compare it with the user answer, and if it is right, you give it a mark or something, right? So the next thing is changing the design of our radio list style. So we want to check if it is selected, right? So the selected is going to be the question.user answer equal to our option. So this will mean that it is selected, right? And if it is selected, we want to have a different style. So we can have selected tile color, and that is going to be theme.of context dot color scheme dot primary container, right? So primary container. So if it is selected, they want to have these styles, right? And also want to change the blue. So I'm going to change another property called active color, and that is going to be theme.of context dot color scheme dot on primary container. So that will be the color that will be on our primary container, and now we have this color on our primary container, and we can swipe to change our questions as well as use the next button, right? So this how you can build a questions page for a quiz app. And let me know what you think in the comment section, if there is something I missed or there is something you don't understand, right? So if you like this content, hit the like button, subscribe, share the video, and I'll see you in the next project.